Hey, Fusion leaders, welcome to week 2 of Jonah. And in week 2 of Jonah, we're looking at Jonah chapter 2 and a teaching video from our very own Jed Daly. And so this is the prayer of Jonah from the belly of the fish, which is in a very unusual place to be praying from. So this week's big idea is even the most desperate situations are opportunities to focus on God and to trust in Him. That's what we see evidenced in the video, and that's kind of where we're going. Now the questions, we have 3 sets of questions, really 3 questions. They're a little more simple this week. Question number 1 is this: have you ever been in a situation where you felt like only God could rescue you? And so that's what Jonah's situation was. It was a situation that was totally desperate. Jonah could not save himself. He was in the belly of a fish after all. And that's very similar to kinds of situations we're in. Now you're thinking, wait, that's not similar. I've never been in the belly of a fish. But what I mean is, obviously, we all face situations where we need God to rescue us. We can't rescue ourselves. Only God can do it, and that's the situation that we want to talk about. Maybe you have had situations in your life, the students have had situations in their lives where they thought, only God can get me out of this. Maybe it was a physical situation, the kind of thing that Jed talks about, hiking in the Grand Canyon. Maybe it was a health issue, maybe it was a relationship, a family problem, whatever it is. Share a story from your life where you were in a situation like that, and then talk about especially what were your thoughts about God during this time. What did you think God was up to? How did you pray to God? How did God respond to you? So then that brings us to the second question: how is it possible to praise God during difficult circumstances? Because that's what Jonah does. In Jonah chapter 2, while he's in the whale or fish, he praises God. He says, God, thank you for rescuing me. And he sees that God saved him. You know, if I was Jonah, I'd be a little ticked at that point. But he's not. He's like, God, you saved me. You rescued me. Thank you so much for doing that. And so take some time to reflect on how you can praise God during difficult circumstances, because some of your students are facing really tough circumstances right now. And how can they praise God? How can they honor God in those moments? And talk about how that's possible. Talk about how you can think about the goodness of God and how God is with us and how God walks through every situation in life with us. You can talk about how God has been faithful in the past. And sometimes for me, when I'm in tough situations, it's helpful to remember that God has been with me and other people in the past. And then end by looking at Philippians 4:6. Don't be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God. This verse tells us not to be anxious, but instead of being anxious, instead of being concerned, instead of being worried and nervous all the time, bring your problems to God in prayer and talk about how prayer can free you from a life of worrying and anxiety. And I think a great way to end your group is just to pray for people who are struggling with some things. Hopefully some people will admit just to some stuff they're worried about. Maybe it's school stuff, maybe it's family stuff, whatever. I encourage people to share something that they would want prayer for, and then pray for them, and have a great group, and we will see you next week.